Warning: this podcast discusses transphobia, misgynoir, abuse, and violence against Black women and Black lgbt+. There aren't any images or videos, just heavy topics. Hello everyone and welcome. Today we'll cut right to the chase. Originally, I'd planned another podcast, but I think given all that's happening with the protest, and in light of Pride Month, my podcast should reflect current events, and this is something I wanted to talk about for ages anyway. And that is the erasure of Black women and Black LGBT+ from the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, this isn't to cause division, which unfortunately is what people think bringing up this topic attempts to do. But it's important to be honest with ourselves. With the death of Breonna Taylor and her murderer still free, we need to kind of focus on the fact that Black women are not getting the justice they deserve, and neither are Black LGBT+. When it comes to things like Black Lives Matter and marches for justice, Black women and Black LGBT are usually on the front and center, while our deaths and the brutality done against us are somewhat ignored or at least not taken as seriously. When we bring up the erasure of Black women and Black LGBT, we're accused of ignoring the main issue at hand, creating division, not being there for our Black men, etc. What I have issues understanding is, why are our lives any less important than that of Black men? When we say Black Lives Matter, it isn't just the lives of cis-het Black men, because when you start to look, you'll realize that all of us face as much brutality. During these times, I've seen a lot of Black people, especially Black women, saying things like, quote unquote, "I'm afraid for my son," or "I'm afraid for my brother or husband." And that's important and all, but what about your daughters, your sisters, you? Why have we all come up with this idea that Black women are somehow exempt from police brutality when we have Breonna Taylor, who still has not yet received justice? Black women are just as capable of being hurt by police as Black men. There was just an Afro-Indigenous girl killed in Canada by the cops. Some more, Sandra Bland, Aiyana Jones. The point being, Black women are not exempt from police brutality. Black women are not less likely to be killed than Black men. And in that same note, Black women also face sexual assault by police officers, and no one knows about that. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, Black women and Black LGBT are not really focused on, despite the fact that Black women and Black queer people make a lot of strides to push and promote the movement. In fact, Black women and Black queer people are some of the loudest, strongest supporters, organizers, speakers, etc. The Black Lives Matter movement was created by 4 Black women, yet we still are not seeing Black women or Black queer people represented in the movement. And this speaks sadly to the misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, and just in general, anti-queer sentiment within the Black community. And despite Black women and Black LGBT being some of the most prominent victims of brutality by the police and people within the community, we are still ignored, left out, or mistreated. Mistreated by police and by the people within our own community. I want to bring up the story of Iyanna Dior, and I hope I'm saying her name right. She is a Black trans woman who was violently assaulted by cis-het Black men and women not too long ago. Transphobia in the Black community is already an issue, but at the time when we're supposed to be calling for unity of all Black lives, this is just ridiculous. This isn't the only instance of literal transphobia within the cis-het Black community, and yes, this includes cis-het Black women who are just as violent toward trans women as cis-het Black men. I mean, where I'm from, Black trans women are the most brutalized people in the Black community by Black people and the police, and so many trans women and trans people in general go under the radar or go missing and are never found again because of things like transphobia. There was a trans Black guy, Tony McDade, who was just killed by the police on the 27th in Florida. Where's the outrage? Where are people saying his name? Why has he been left out of the protest? Black trans people, Black non-binary people, etc. make up such a large percentage of our community and are so vulnerable to police assault and assault within the community, and they are not getting the justice they deserve in most cases. They go under the radar, they are misgendered by their families and officers at the time of their deaths, so we truly do not know the exact number of brutalized trans Black people in our communities. So looking at all of this, the transphobia and misogyny, I think a few things need to happen, and one is we need to acknowledge these things are real issues in our community and are getting people killed. And we need to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter doesn't just cover those Black lives lost by police brutality, but also intra-community violence against some of the most vulnerable members of our communities. Because if we cannot include these brutalities in Black Lives Matter, then how will they be heard? If all Black lives matter, then why do people ignore the violence done to a vast majority of people in our communities? And the sad thing is, queer Black people and Black women are all the ones marching at the forefront, are spreading the most awareness, are risking their lives, and cannot even be protected by the community. I was on Twitter and saw a fair amount of Black people, Black queer people, questioning whether or not to go to the protest for their safety, because though some of them had gone or not, they realized that there was a chance they'd face some type of transphobia from people there, and that's just ridiculous. And on the same end, the heavy misogyny within the Black community is also like taking us 1,000 steps back. Again, on Twitter, I saw a thread where someone was asking why majority Black women were speaking in a certain city, and in response to that question, a person said, "Because our men are tired and scared and it's up to us to lift them up," something along those lines. Okay, but so are Black women. Black women are tired, Black women need protection and people to lift them up. So why is it always Black women who are the mules for the movement? Why are Black women automatically seen as people who need to forsake their own pain, suffering, etc. in order to uplift Black men and make sure they're happy, when in reality the community doesn't even do the same for us? And all the while, Black women face heavy discrimination and erasure in the Black community when it comes to the abuse Black women face by Black men, whether it be cis or trans Black women, that is ignored. Black women are subjected to abuse, brutalization, and just straight up misogyny from Black men, double if you are a dark-skinned Black woman or a trans Black woman. Like, we don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about how Black Lives Matter is really just cis-het Black male focus. We don't talk about how the people who are stepping up the most, Black women and Black LGBT, are ignored when we are victims of police brutality. And we certainly don't talk about how we face abuse and misogyny from people within our own communities. And I say this in light of Breonna Taylor's birthday and in light of Pride Month. All Black lives matter, and this needs to be said not just when we face police brutality, but when we are brutalized by Black men or by cis members of our own community, and that includes cis-het Black women. And this isn't derailing or being anti-Black or whatever weird claims I've seen recently. I think the community needs to do better for the people who are carrying the movement, because I've seen so many Black women and Black queer people making these movements, taking to the streets, making speeches, and putting together events all to help the Black community, and where's the things? Where's the acknowledgement of Black women and Black queer people being erased from these movements and being brutalized by the community? Because until this happens, until there is an acknowledgement and a respect for Black women, specifically dark-skinned and Black trans women and Black LGBT, then it will always be difficult to fully support a movement that for some reason isn't here trying to support us. So to end, please donate to Ayana Dior. Her description is in the link. There will also be some links for Breonna Taylor and her family, in addition to some general Black Lives Matter links as well. And if you enjoy me or my content, please consider subscribing, sharing, and giving a thumbs up. Tell me what you think. And lastly, if you are in a position to, please consider donating to me. My donation links will also be at the bottom. That would help out immensely. Thanks for listening, and until next time.